Hey, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do another 101.5 lesson. And for those of you who have been kind of following along over the last couple of weeks, then you'll know that I am still sort of recovering from surgery that I had on the 24th of May. They went ahead and did my left arm for carpal and cubital tunnel surgery. And so I am actually healing pretty easily. That's my little scar on my wrist. That's my bigger scar on my elbow. And it's been a little over 2 weeks, and so I feel like I'm doing really well. This is my first foray back into recording for you, so hopefully things will go well today and smoothly. Thank you to all of you out there who've been lovingly concerned about how I've been doing. I do appreciate it. Let's go ahead and switch over to my desktop. I'm going to do a quick lesson for you today on the circle cutter. A few of you had asked for a quick lesson or refresher on how that works and what it's about, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to show you some of the things that it's capable of and different ways that you can use that. So let's check out my desktop and we'll get started, okay? All right, so here's my desktop for today. I just wanted to, before we get into how to use this circle maker, I wanted to remind you, those of you who don't have it, that we do also have the Creative Memories, what we call the CCS system, the custom cutting system, and it uses these different templates, and they come in different sizes and things like that, different shapes, and these 3 blades. And you can make a ton of different sizes of circles and ovals and squares, rectangles, you name it. Well, not quite you name it, but there's quite a few different shapes that you can make using this system, and it is a very great system that many people prefer to the circle cutter. But the circle cutter can do things that the custom cutting system cannot. So that's why I just wanted to do a quick lesson on the circle cutter. Okay, there is a really neat trick though to using the circle cutter that I'm going to show you today that will make your life so much easier. My upline, her name is Nicole So. She's a good friend of mine. I've known her for many years. An Army wife when my husband was active duty in the Army, and we go back, and this tip comes from her. She figured out that there is a way that you can mark the center of your paper, and if you mark the center of your paper, then you can find the center and be able to use this a lot more effectively and efficiently. So let me show you how we do that, okay? I use my zero centering ruler. You can use any ruler, but this one comes in very handy for helping to find the middle of your page. And I use a 3x3 post-it note. If you don't have a 3x3 post-it note, you can use one that's smaller, but the big one tends to just be really easy to see, and so that's why we tend to use a 3x3. You'll need a pen of some kind. You could use a dual tip Creative Markers pen if you want to, whatever is going to make you happy. And I just put this down here in the middle, or just forward of the middle towards me, just a little ways. It doesn't have to be in an exact spot, okay? We're going to do some measuring, and that's going to put it in an exact spot. So I'm going to line it up on my mat. Just line it up with the lines. That's going to help me out a lot. If you don't work on a mat like this, then just put a little mark on the side of your paper where your middle is. And that way you'll be able to use this a lot better. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 6-inch line right here. And I'm going to just line up my ruler with the 6-inch line, and I'm going to just make a line like that, okay? Then I'm going to count 6 inches in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's my 6-inch line. Okay, and I'm going to just make a line for my 6-inch. So we know this is the exact center of this piece of paper. All right, now what I'm going to do, and this is the key I have found, on your ruler you can see you have a 1-inch mark, a 2-inch mark, and the ruler is 3 inches wide. Okay, is that better so you can see a little bit more easily? Okay, so but what we want to mark is 1 1/4 inches down from the horizontal line. Okay, I'm not trying to make this too hard, but what I'm going to do is this line right here is the 1 1/4 mark from this edge. Okay, so I want to put that 1 1/4 mark on my horizontal midline. All right, so I'm going to line it up so that that 1 1/4 mark, it's one line towards me from where the 0 is on my 0 centering ruler, if that helps you. Okay, so I'm going to put that 1 1/4 mark right lined up with the horizontal line we just drew. Then I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to draw another line on the outside of my ruler, the one closest to me. Okay, so I just drew this line right here. And this is the line that's going to help us, this mark right here. Okay, let me show you why. When we cut with our circle maker, if you have one, you can check it out. Let me just review its features real quick, and then we'll get into this a little bit better. Okay, the blade is out here on the edge. If you have our 12-inch trimmer, then you'll recognize this blade is very similar to the blade that is on the 12-inch trimmer. It's just smaller than that. See, it looks like that. Just very, very tiny, much smaller than the blade cartridge that goes into the 12-inch trimmer. Okay, and it just pops right in right there. And this door is activated with this little push pin right here. You push that down and it will open the door. But you really don't ever have to do that unless you have to replace the blade for some reason. This piece right here is what's going to engage your blade, and we'll get into that in just a second. This piece is for navigating or tightening and loosening this piece, which slides up and down the cutter like this and adjusts the size of your circle. And the reason that that is important is because on the flip side of that is this little cushioned rubber mat. Okay, that's going to hold on to your paper, and this little pinpoint right here in the middle is the pivot point. Okay, so that is the point that you're turning on. All right, and so when this is pushed down and engages with your paper, it's going to hold your paper in place but still allow the cutter to turn. I'll show you here in just a second what the effect that has. Okay. Then another feature is this hole down here on the end. This hole is for drawing circles, which I'll show you also. Okay. So first of all, we're going to move our measuring line. There's a black line on this little bubble right here on the side that is the line where that lines up with your pivot point. Okay, you can make a circle that is as big as roughly 11 3/4 of an inch, and the smallest circle you can cut is roughly 3 inches. Okay, we're using the white ruler right here on the side. And you can tell there's a little picture right here to help you remember that this is the cutting ruler and it's in inches. If you live in one of the countries of the world that uses the metric system for measuring, just flip it over and you can use centimeters on the other side. Okay, and there's another little icon that shows you this is for cutting. and you would just use these measurements to measure how large of a circle you're making. Okay, but I live in the US, so I'm going to use the inches. The black numbers that are above the inch line are for drawing. So we're not going to pay attention to those just now. We're going to only pay attention to the white numbers. And I'm going to show you how we're going to cut a perfect circle, the biggest one we can, from this paper. Okay, I'm going to line up this black line right here with the vertical line that we drew on our Post-it note. And I'm going to line up the front edge of my cutter with this second horizontal line that we drew at 1 1/4 inches down. Remember, this is 1 1/4 inches in between the center line and just forward towards you. Okay, so we're going to put the front edge of the trimmer right on that line, and we're going to line up the black line here with the vertical line that we can see. All right, if you do that every time you place your cutter on this piece of paper, provided you don't move the Post-it note, it will line up in the center every time. Now, to cut, we're going to squeeze this white button in and push down with the blue sphere. Okay, so we're going to squeeze the white button in and push down, and then swing this all the way around. I have to go under my arm and continue it. But if we do that, then we get a perfect circle. Now, the reason that I'm highlighting the fact that you can do this is because sometimes, as I just picked that up to show you, now if I didn't have my Post-it note here, it would be very difficult for me to find the center of this circle again, especially if I didn't have this glued down to my table, which I don't. Okay, so because I do, it makes it very easy. Now I can come back in here and adjust my circle measurement. I can line this back up again, and I can push down with the bubble here to stabilize the center, squeeze in with the white button, push down with the smaller button, swing around, and now I have a ring. All right. And let's do a couple more just for the fun of it. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind if you're trying to make concentric circles is you want to allow, every time you adjust this bubble, you want to go in twice as far as the width you want for this circle, because you need to account for both sides of the ring. If that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So there's one. Let's do another one. So right now this is sitting at 9.3. So 9 plus then 3 more little marks. I'm going to move it, let's see, I want it to be 1/2 inch wide, so I'm going to move it up to the 8.3 mark. And that should give me a 1/2 inch ring that I'm cutting. Let's try that, okay? The other ones I just did sort of arbitrarily. All right, so here we have our 1/2 inch ring that's measured just perfect, okay? So the thing that is cool about this is, oh, it's cool for many different reasons, but you can make lots of different designs with this just by using one piece of paper and flipping your rings over, which is super fun. And you may see this coming up in one of my layouts. We'll see if I can incorporate it into one of my island layouts, but hopefully that has helped a little bit. I want to show you how the drawing part works before we get too far away here. So I grabbed this designer sheet of paper and I grabbed a couple of pens. Now these are the CM pens, and as far as I know, they're the only pens that work in this. If you've used another pen and it's been successful, if you could comment and let us know, that would be great. But as far as I know, the only pens that you can use are the CM pens. You just take the cap off to expose the end you want to use, and I believe you have to use the fine end because this little hole is very tiny, and I don't think that the thick end would be very effective if you use that in there. Although you probably could pop the pen in there, and I just don't think it would work quite like you want. All right, so you push it in as far as you can, and I'm thinking that that is going to be far enough. And then I'm going to slide this in here. We're going to make, let's see, we're going to draw a big circle, and then we'll draw a small circle so you can see just how small it can get, okay? Oops, I forgot I need to mark my center really quick before we get too far ahead here. So I'm just going to center my paper, find my middle, which is going to be here. And here. And then we're going to mark 1.25 inches down right there, because the same rules apply for this. Now I'm going to, oh, that's what I forgot. I said biggest to smallest, and then I used the wrong ruler. When you make the biggest circle with the drawing implement, you have to turn this turn your blade to the side, otherwise the little white part here interferes with your measuring button. But I'm just tightening this white gasket, I guess you'd call it, right there. And then, whoop, gonna line up my bubble, my line on the bubble, and the front part of my trimmer. I'm still going to use this to anchor it down. Then I'm going to just take my pen and draw all the way around. Awesome. And then if you just kind of offset this by a little bit, then you can make a little bit more of a decorative feel. So those people that you know who have made, sometimes they draw their circles on and then add their photos just to give it a little bit of a decorative edge without worrying about cutting anything. So I'm going to make my red one just a little bit higher and a little bit off to the side. And you can see I haven't used my pens in a while. That's why they're kind of bleeding a little bit. They've been anxiously awaiting my coming back to them, I guess you could say. So that's a good suggestion, I think. Don't set this, if you're going to use your pens, don't set it down on the paper until you're ready to move ready to swing it around, because otherwise you do get a little bit of bleeding. Okay, so now I'm going to move this, and we're going to make the smallest one, and then I think that's all we're going to do for today. All right, so let's go ahead and see. Now, making the smaller one is going to mean that it's going to be right on my Post-it note, just so you know, because this is a 3-inch Post-it note. But you can see that that is a small, that's the smallest circle that it will draw, which is not even 3 inches, because that's a 3-inch Post-it. So it's probably a 2.5-inch circle that it will draw. But I know it will only cut a 3-inch circle. All right, but you can see how versatile it is. It'll do literally anything in between 3 inches and 11 3/4 inches, which can sometimes be, you know, the easiest way to cut a circle by bringing this, although we do know that the custom cutting system can cut smaller than that, so it just depends on what your needs are. But it is a fun tool, and I hope that knowing this little trick that Nicole taught us is helpful to you, so that you'll want to use this tool more, because literally it can tear your hair out if you don't practice this one little thing. But with this you can do so much, and it's so much less stressful. So at any rate, thanks so much for joining me. There are 2 more videos this week that were pre-recorded from before my surgery, and then we'll get started on some brand new things. So, and continue our Ireland pages, of course. But thanks so much. I hope you have a great week. And until next time, I hope that you have many more creative moments. Take care now.